welcome everybody to
Hello.
the recap of round number 4. Oh boy, it is like the pretty much like the final recap before the wrap up.
Yeah, had semifinals this week. Had our second round of
Yeah,
challenger matches. Almost done with second season or first season of TFR Alliance.
yeah,
Second season of TFR ever,
indeed,
and a good ride.
it is. It has been, and yeah, this one might be a little bit quicker because there weren't that many matches, and there's only like one match to preview.
And no challenger matches next week, right? Except
So
for the one that had to
yeah,
be
so
rescheduled.
there's
Yeah.
still
Okay.
one pending, and there was no really time pressure there anyway. It's just 2 matches left, pretty much. So let's just dive into it. I would say. Oh.
Uh oh.
Uh oh. I tried
Quick,
to.
write down all of the answers to the trivia.
The problem is resizing my window, but don't worry, I got it. I wanted to move it so I could still see the chat if anything came in. And I'll do that one more time. There.
They're used to our professionalism
Yeah.
by now.
And maybe no, not maybe not everyone hasn't joined so far, so it's all good. Yeah. So again, highlights, matchup, new matchups. That's still plural. I guess it's singular now. The predictions. That was something this week. The
Yeah.
challenger matches that did or did not happen, and statistics and trivia. It's a small section this time, so we're going to be blazing through it, I expect. Highlights. For me, one highlight. A Vault Master 2024 deck.
Yeah.
I won't spoil the outcome, but there was a lot of Brobnar, and there were some Shadow shenanigans involved. Bremo doing work. I'm not sure if it was this specific matchup, but
Yeah. So I casted this one. It was very interesting and very unexpected for me the way things
yeah,
went. Again, if
yeah,
we're not going
yeah.
to spoil it
I'm
for
not gonna
until we get
spoil
to
it.
the actual
No, no,
matchup.
no, no.
So I mean, there's so many things in here. I think what you said, Bramo was like the MVP of that match. Which
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you look at what we're looking at
All
here, and
right,
you can see
Bramo.
some other things that could happen. But Bramo did just so much
So much
against
work.
that Worlds Collide board.
So much work.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
what's funny is I'm trying to think back. I don't remember if the autocannon Bad Penny combo ever actually happened. There was always the threat of it, but Bad Penny, there was
Yeah,
other combos that happened. Like it's really cool. You should go watch
yeah,
because
yeah,
like the
yeah. This
Shadows
is
house itself has
one to watch for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, and
it's got some
and
really cool synergies.
and then the other games, all of them, always all of them highlights, right? But this one was the one that stood out, and we didn't have that many matches. But we'll go into the challenger matches, and we had this week. I think we had some surprising results across
Mm-hmm.
the board, which leads us to the community prediction skills, in quotation marks, let's say. Um, so round one, we got 50%. We got 75 on round two. Again, 75 in round 3. Round 4, let's see if we did get anything right.
This is
Well, yeah.
it's a little brutal. But that means that the predictions, like that means it was a very important round of predictions,
It
right? Because
was.
that could have
It was a
changed,
very,
that could have
very
swung
important
things
one.
wildly.
Yeah. So, our first game, Random Joe versus Harmed. Our first semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
Random Joe bringing the deck called Oppression versus Cowper Diem on Harmed side. I practice this game quite often with Harmed, and I think our total, maybe our record was definitely positive towards Harmed side, but also got some wins when everything lined up correctly. So there
Mm-hmm.
was maybe I don't know if I won 2 games in a row, but there was some wins, but also some, like, if there's one opportunity for harm, then it just locked down, and you're like, okay. So you gotta go fast, disruption at the right moment, try to save the life wards, and so I think harm was looking quite confident going into this one, but we knew Random Joe had been playing very well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what were your thoughts on this one before the match?
I definitely thought it was going to be close. I think both of these matches for this week for our semifinals, I thought were, or for our, yeah, this was the semifinals. I thought were going to be fairly close matchups. Random Joe just has a lot of tools, and so much of it is just about the timing, like you were kind of
Yeah.
saying. The life wards, especially against Harm's deck specifically, can just shut so much down, right? Like
Yeah.
that is a brutal turn whenever those things pop. The control the weaks, and then you got like the shark and stuff in there, but also kind of what we saw in some of other Random Joe's other matches is the deck can also just generate a lot of amber. And so
Yes.
he's
Yeah.
he's had one of the harder roads to get here, I think. And a lot of it was against those kind of games where it's like if the lockout starts, then he's basically done. But he was just always able to do just enough to kind of just keep
Yeah.
one turn ahead of that lockout happening. And we saw that basically happen here again, right? Where
Yeah. So
yeah.
went off lightning fast 2 games. I think Titan Mechanic might have done some work there as well, because
Oh
every
really?
turn you forge, there's 2 times forge for 5.
Yeah.
So I wonder if when the game got longer, then Harmed has the opportunity to get the lock in. So after 8 turns, Harmed still didn't get a lockdown or made it hard enough for Random Joe to not be able to generate that much amber. But that's also in part due to the live wards, control the weaks, the scrambler storms, and whatnot. So this game
Mhm.
and game two, yeah, more of the same. When lightning fast start, um, and yeah, it just didn't line up for him, and it was a 2-0 for Random Joe, which no one really predicted except for 4 people. And then 10 were in favor of, so 14 people in total thought Random Joe would win, as opposed to I think like 40 for Harmed. So
Yeah.
major upset according to the predictions. And even though there was a feeling that this could happen, like it totally took Harmed and also me by surprise that it did happen, and many other people I think as well. So were you surprised, or
I was definitely surprised that it was a 2-0.
yeah,
I
the 2-0
again
was
think
unexpected. Yeah.
this is one where if you play this 10 games, yeah, maybe it's like 6-4 to Harm's
Yeah,
or
I would say
Harm's deck or
six
something. But
four,
even then, like again,
maybe.
so much these decks are still so practice, like there's so much you have to know to be able to pilot them well when you're even doing the testing and stuff. But it's Keyforge, there's always draws too, and it's just like
Yeah,
that's why we play the games, right?
yeah,
If
yeah,
it's
yeah.
deterministic, then there's no
No,
point.
no, indeed.
So there's so many factors here, but definitely a surprising,
Surprising game.
I think,
Yeah.
just the way it went in general. But
So
huge props to Random Joe for the
so
win.
Random Joe has been playing amazing, and he made the finals. And they were talking a lot about their strategies going into that. Spoiler: Harm played logos 1 turn. Yeah, that was the final turn indeed. You're right. Because he took the Skippy Timehawk, which I was cooking dinner and I was like, oh, maybe this is the moment where the comeback might happen,
Mm-hmm.
but then just so much amber. And they had a lot of, like I said, coming back to that point, discussions on how the strategy was. And Random says just
Yeah.
play as it comes, play everything. So then it needs to line up in a certain way. And if it does, then yeah, well, it lined up 2 times. Congratulations, Random Joe, our first finalist. So well played to Random Joe. Unfortunately for Harmed, that's the end of it. But hey, you still win an Ember Skies deck. That's the good news, right?
Yeah.
Match 30. JDG Damat.
Yeah.
Give us a short rundown on this.
So again, I was kind of expecting this to be a pretty close match. Although we've seen Demod already play against specifically a Quixelstone deck, and we've seen just how fast Demod's deck can be. Just
Yeah.
very, very. Even if it's not doing the Brio Calp lockout stuff, even if it's playing almost no creatures, which you see on there like 3 leads and stuff, this Geistoid Pod on its own basically feels like an Alliance deck.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. But JDG does have some tools. I think it was just never.
It just
Didn't
went
quite
too
line.
fast. Like
Yeah.
key on turn 4, key on turn 6, key on turn 9, outpacing JDG. Um, yeah,
Well, so I'm trying to remember. I think it was game one. We saw Demont archive the. It's not animating force. Which one is it?
spontaneous
Um,
awakening.
Spontaneous Awakening.
Yeah,
We saw that get archived pretty fast, and we saw JDG pick up the autoencoder from like a Lethalogica really early, and I think he had to hold it for like three
yeah,
or four turns because if he plays that, that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
his deck
That's
needs
that's
that
not good.
autoencoder.
That's not good. You need that
Um,
auto encoder. Yeah,
and so he had to chain himself, and then Damat being able to be our Geist the Infernuses, I think is just it's one of those really tough. It's just such a crazy card.
and
Be our
and
Geist
and
is.
this one also actually a major upset because a lot of people were going for JDG in this matchup, and
Yeah.
previewing this match, I would also think that JDG might have been favored, and I said I think I see JDG going all the way because I was thinking Harm would win, and then that would be a good matchup.
Yeah.
But wrong on both ends. So yeah, Damat, the world champion, in the finals of the final refrain, that is
Yeah.
showing some next level consistency. I think.
Consistency and validation, right? It's just
Yeah,
like there's a reason he made it there. Both his deck building skills and his playing, like it's just it's on display here again.
yeah, and he says he's not that very active, so being able to read the game plans of because this is not an easy strategy to figure out, right? But I guess he had experience in the previous game, so that definitely helped because the Quixelstone matchup with the Rogue Ops and everything like that, he did that before and he figured that strategy out and maybe perfected it in this one. So it does require some. It requires a lot of being in touch with what your opponent can do. A lot of empathy, as the sloppy lab work would
Yeah.
call it. I think. Yeah.
I wonder, need to ask him about this. I wonder if this was a little bit hard for him to just like a little bit heartbreaking to play against JDG's deck because I feel like with his quote there, winning against Heart of Forest with the perplexing sophistry loop, that feels very in line with like JDG's game plan
Yeah.
and stuff, right? So there's
Yeah.
a little bit of like I have to beat my own strategy that
Yeah.
I've done before here and just kind
Yeah,
of
because it was
move on to the next powerful
at
thing.
one point the mark of this was purged with the draw pip, and then the waking nightmare was still there, but the loop was pretty much gone with the BR Geist
Yeah.
and the Infernus.
I,
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to both of them because it's a very interesting match. I think there
Yes.
was we were talking about the draws in um, the Harmed and Random Joe match. I think in this one the big thing was not necessarily the draws but the random discards from like the Lethalogica and stuff. So if
Yeah,
you're
the
JDG, you kind
Lethalogica
of
did
have to
hurt
dig.
JDG quite a bit, I
It
would
hurt
say.
him real
Yes.
bad in both games, I think,
But
which is like
you don't expect Lethalogica to discard 8 cards or something, right?
yeah,
You
it discarded quite a few in one of those games.
Yeah.
But also like I'm sure he practiced this like that's something you probably you're either playing it or
Yeah.
you're not,
Yeah.
and he must have found like okay I have to play this if I want to
More
win
often
so
than
that I can
not.
get to
Yeah.
the because he's got a lot of important logos cards, right? The autovac didn't come down in game
Came down
one, and
late.
then
The
the auto
universal key
encoder,
logs
yeah.
also too. Like yeah, every key you
So
can get fast is bad news. So our final is between Random Joe and Damat. Interesting.
looks very similar to
Yeah. So this
previous
Random
match
Joe
here.
just came off of a high, and it looks very similar to Harms, except for there's a bit more stealing in the Mafioso, which is good and bad because the more amber you have, the more amber can be stolen back by the crazy shadows in Random Joe's. But with the Lees and Rogue Ops being able to maybe only let Random Joe play one card, I don't see a clear favorite here. And not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
Previously, I would say Damat would take this one. But yeah,
that's very interesting. Because which between Damat's and Harm's decks, which ones do you think would be hurt more by the control of the weaks?
I think Damat's might be hurt a little bit more because the Well of Memory, there's no Well of Memory. So Geistoid clearly is insane. I'm not sure what else is there in the Unfathomable. Actually, the Control the Weak still hurt at the right time at the right house anyway.
Yeah.
So I think they both hurt equally bad. I think the Life Wards are...
Life Wards are crazy strong.
It's mainly the chaining of Disruption. If it lines up, and then that's the problem. So again, you need a favorable draw and push hard for Ember, which is maybe a bit harder against the mod than against Harmed because of the Rogue Ops.
That's it's very different, right? Because like what we've seen from Damat's deck, so the last 2 rounds, Damat hasn't really done the Bryo Cow block, right? It's been almost just the Geistoid looping and stuff, and so he's gonna have to go back to playing his deck the way he normally plays it. But if he's getting controlled the weak into other houses, like
you can't.
The thing with playing it the way it normally plays is it doesn't generate as much amber, right? The Geistoid is what generates a lot of amber. The Starlines can, because like you said, the Rogue Ops are pretty good. But if you're getting controlled the weak into Unfathomable, and you only have like one of those creatures, one of those 3 important creatures in your hand, like your deck is going to start moving so slow for a couple turns.
Yeah.
Random Joe's deck is playing amber every turn. So it's going to be a very interesting
it's going
to
be a race.
Like who's pressuring who. Yeah. Again, if Damat's deck sets up the Bryo Cow block, I think Random Joe is almost like it's going to be almost impossible to come back from that, right? But can he do like he's been doing? Because this is, I think Snoopy was saying this too, and I was just looking. Is this the third Bryo Cow deck?
We'll get there in the end, maybe.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Sorry, I should assume you've been looking at this.
So this the finals, coming back to the community prediction, we suck 0%.
That's crazy.
So in the prediction game, this has been pretty well. Not a lot changed, but what did change is interesting, and we'll get there. We'll get there soon. The bracket, I think Riku was sleeping.
Sorry, I should go back to that.
Wait.
Both of these were the lowest predicted one, right?
Yes, both of these were the
2-0 for Random Joe and the 2-0 for Damat. Is crazy.
Yeah. So indeed, the lowest of all of the predictions. That's what happened. So that's interesting. The bracket, pretend like the final is filled in with Random Joe and Damat. So
come on, Riku. What are we paying you for?
He was sleeping probably, and I was a bit late, so I'll take that one. So the finalists again, Random Joe and Damat, USA versus Italy. One to watch, and we're gonna try to schedule this at a favorable time, and doing maybe a little bit of a total wrap up in tandem with casting the games. We'll still need to work out who, what, when, where, but we'll try to put it on a favorable time window for EU and NA, because that's where those 2 players are. So it'll probably be around this time, somewhere in the weekend, maybe, or Fridays, who knows. To be determined. So Harmed and JDG both win a Amber Sky sealed deck. Random Joe or Damat will be winning either the travel reimbursement to a GG Alliance event or the Amber Sky sealed display. Both, I would say, pretty good pricing. One of them being insane.
One of them is insane, especially
one of them is insane.
You redeem that for maybe an out of country GG event, which again, we gotta see what the actual things shake out to be.
Indeed.
But regardless, like travel reimbursement is huge. So lots on the line for both of these players.
Yeah. And obviously, we still have pricing for predictions. We'll get to the standings in a short time. We'll also raffle out the 4th VM deck, I believe. Grishhammer, Conte Kelly, Captain Gale, and let's do that first, actually. So 3. Ooh, this is the previous standing. So let me pull up the wheel of names.
This is before a bunch of dreams get crushed.
Yes, indeed.
And some get made. Some people are gonna.
Right. So we've got the wheel of names. Everyone that voted in round 4 is in here. If one of those 3 pop up, we'll spin it again, and if it's you or me, sorry, we'll also spin again. So
I'm technically the best predictor of all of us,
yeah,
because I put my name on all of them.
Yeah, indeed. Here we go.
Time to rig the wheel again. We never rig the wheel. What are you talking about?
Matza, right?
There's literally no
there's no rigging
evidence you can point to
ever. Thytium.
Very nice.
All right, let's copy that. So you are winning a Voltmaster 25 deck, which, as we all know, will be the next TFR Alliance winner, right?
Of course. It better be.
25, yeah. So, Thytium, congratulations.
I think VM25 Alliance, that'll be very interesting next season. There's some nasty stuff in that set.
So, not a massive shift here, but Harmed, no points, right? Easy Galena scored 3, so he's in the mix. And Mandracore taking the lead to 64 because there was 1 point I messed up in the previous one. So Mandracore 3 points ahead of the pack. What does that mean? It means we only have 1 prediction left, and there's 6 points to be gained. So Lord Judo, disregard that one. So pretty much Grishhammer, Easy Galena, Vargas, Harmed, and Mandracore are still looking to take first place, where everyone with 55 points or more, so Crystal, Civ of Angmar, Unfathomable, Matilda 5, Kirkman, Alimac, Rodion, can still take second, because you can still get to 63 points. So there's still stuff to play for, but Mandracore is looking solidly in the lead here.
Yeah, it's a big bump. Where were they at in round 3?
They were at 60, or technically 61 because I messed up the score. So they are now at 64. You can win 6 points. So who knows?
Yeah. We'll see. And I don't think this is an easy one to predict either.
No, it's not
all
easy.
Over the place.
No, it's all over the place. So we will see some movement there. Then,
and we will have that prediction up, just so you all know. We'll have that prediction up right after this video or stream.
I did is I captured the predictions just before semifinal 1. I captured all of them, like right there.
So we started fast on
playing
that one.
Against that guy later. So Goody's using up his wins for today. The Thytium. Well, you can tell him the good news, Madsen. Tell him to reach out. So then you'll have some. Maybe you'll distract him from his game, and you have a better chance of winning. Who knows? So the challengers, those were cool, except for this one, because this one didn't happen yet. So there's one challenger match to play yet. Mark H versus Trump.
I think this is a really tough one time zone wise to schedule, so we're giving him some time, which is fine.
So Mark is playing against the Mark of better rotations. That's funny. Whoever made up these names deserves an award. Wait, what, me? Oh, thank you. Okay, challenge.
We
number
don't rig,
6.
but we pat ourselves on the back plenty.
No rigging, but compliments to ourselves. I watched this half asleep, but I watched it. and then I watched it
That
back.
was late for you.
Um, yeah, what happened here? Give us the rundown. Mind
So
you, Dave C won a Vault Tour with this deck.
like a week before playing this, or
Yes.
2 weeks before playing this. So this is Dave's is a Ascended Vault Warrior deck.
Yeah.
It was kind of a weird day for us. So Dave and I were actually in the same room when this
Oh
was
yeah, you
happening,
were in the store,
because we were
right?
at locals
Yeah.
together. He proceeded to then just literally beat me like 4 or 5 games in a row. So it felt like you playing against Harmed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
you switch decks, everything, and you just keep
Yeah.
losing. So he got it. He got his comeback. But I did. This is really interesting to watch because it was not what I think any of us expected the way it to go, and that's because I think the Brobnar just did so much more than we
I
thought.
think the Bremo was undervalued. Um, the Bremo was the MVP, 100%.
Yeah.
Um,
There were some interesting decisions that happened. So in this game one, Dave and I were talking about this afterwards. Dave had a chance. So what we said was that the autocannon bad penny loop never really happened, but there's the 2 J Vindas and some other ways
yeah.
to ping the rad penny and shadows anyway. So
Yes.
once
Steal and
Matze got
discard, bring it
control of the
back to the.
board,
Yes.
yeah, he was able to just reap out and still do the bad penny bouncing just because of these reap effects,
I think at
which
one
were
point Dave
stealing or
had 2
gaining
cards,
amber.
right?
Uh,
I
well,
think
so
Dave was
these
down to
were
2 cards because of that.
was it? I don't know if he had the discarding ones. It was just the stealing
Yeah,
ones,
yeah.
right?
And, no, the discard is. Mats
Oh,
is
he
in the
was doing
chat, right?
the
So I think at one point also there
that was,
was
yeah.
only 2 cards in hand. So
He was, because he was able, so that was different. That was from looping the, I mean, it was still on the same
yeah.
turns, but he was able to loop the subtle chain.
Yes. Yeah.
And then because of the draw pip on the bad penny,
Yeah.
basically you put it back on
Put
top
it
of the
back.
deck,
Yeah.
which you only had 1 card in deck because he was able to. It was very cool, and we
Very
were not
cool.
expecting how the
Very
deck
cool.
worked. The
Very
one
cool.
thing in game one is Dave had a chance to kill the bad penny, which would have bounced it to hand, and then play the punk. He went for a different line on that turn. He still played the punk, but he killed something else. There was a lot of threats, so it was a hard to know what to kill there. And I don't know that would have been everything, but it would have helped in that game one.
Yeah.
Game two, the Brobnar just ran away with it, right?
The Brobnar is just so good with like the Starlines board is just 2 to a flank and bring it back, 2 to a flank, bring it back, 2 to a flank, 5, boom, 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 Bramo whammo, everything gone. And then only the C in Dave's deck is pretty much relying on reassembling Automaton and Neutron Shark to fire, but yeah, so
didn't really see that.
2-0 for Matze. 6 Brobnar turns 33 cards play.
Oh, well, so he's bouncing so much with the 2 drummer knots, I think, in that game, which means they can heal each other too, right? So like there's a lot there that's just really hard for Dave's deck to deal with, just in a big board, right?
Really good, really good. So one to watch. Watch it back. Matze, congratulations. You brought a nice deck. 73 SAS beating 112. SAS is useless.
And our first VM deck, right?
VM 24 best set. It's no longer DT or AOA. It's switching to VM 24. Yeah, so Matze taking this victory and winning a Ember Skies sealed deck as well. At the end of the whole tournament, I'll make a list of everyone that won something, and then I'll figure out who will ship what, when, and where with the most cost effectively, or pick up what, when, and where. Because that makes the most sense. I didn't watch this one.
Me either. So this just happened late last night, so
yeah,
I wasn't able to watch it either, unfortunately.
What I can't imagine happened is that the jar hit Haunting Witches and Witch Queen, maybe. Did anyone in the chat watch this? Because unfortunately did not have a chance to watch it.
You're bad researchers.
Yeah.
Or we can just use this as a good advertising. Go and watch this once we have it on YouTube, because we probably don't have this on YouTube yet.
Oh, yeah.
This was cast by Strawman, so you can go check out his Twitch until we have it on the YouTube.
Can we deduce from here what happened? 15 cards discarded. 12 cards discarded. A lot of discards.
Wow. How many? Are there a lot of discard pips in odds and odds?
No. Pretty similar.
Game 2 still looks like it was
stats.
close, but
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting. So yeah, I want to see. I would have jarred. So there's 2 jars in the deck, right?
Two
That's one of the
jars.
interesting
Yes.
things about this deck. You have the Maverick one. I probably jar the Winds of Death first, just because that slows down the ability to archive enough creatures to really have that critical mass. And then after that, like the thing is, you have to discard creatures to build the hand to do the Winds of Death, and those Infernus, the double Infernuses.
Yeah, it's really
like
rough.
as soon as you discard like one of your combo pieces, you're done. So you have to be very careful with your handcrafting. So yeah, I could see it being tough for the GR deck.
But this is a proven deck, right? From Liquid Squash. It was a build previously used at Vault Tours, doing quite well. And
I think it won a Vault Tour.
It won. There you go. So
I think Vargas won one with it, I think.
Adds about not getting easy opponents running into this deck and running into Harmed. So congratulations, Liquid Squash. I still owe you a watch of that game. And then yeah, we'll come back with some more information on that. Then our final challenge was Captain Gale with Drake It to Make It versus Cat Marrow with the double final refrain. Still love it that she did that in here. Looking at this, I was like, that's awkward. You want to fight the board, but you don't want to kill the drakes.
Very unfortunate matchup for Cat Marrow, but I think even she was saying later in kind of the scheduling chat for this, just like it's a very cool, very like deck kind of built for fun, but it's not. It takes too long to set up. There's too many pieces you kind of need. It has to be in the right place with like where it's haunted and stuff. So
correct.
Very cool to showcase it, but holy cow, Captain Gale's deck. Just yeah, I don't know if you want to go to the stats, but man, it was brutal.
Very brutal. Turn 6, yeah. Oof.
Yeah. 3, 5, 6, and then
yeah. So Captain Gale winning it. So 3 challengers winning. Is that right?
3 challengers winning this round, as opposed to it's only one or two.
One last round.
Only one, yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. Impressive. That's pretty crazy. So
that's some cool stuff. Some stuff to look out for in the Vault Tour season with some of these decks. I'm sure we'll see them pop back up.
Captain Gale will be going to Paris, maybe Germany. I know that. Nice. As will a lot of people from the Netherforge Lions team. Actually, the whole team is gone. I think we'll be there with like 7 people, or 6 in the big house. Only Donkey Forge is not going, but yeah. So that was our challenger matches, and then only 1 game remains, the final, and 1 challenger match the coming week. Brings us to statistics and trivia. There's not a big section, but there is still some stuff. So let's go over first where the players came from, who's left. It's always nice to see people disappear, and we've got Random Joe and Damat, Italy versus America. So,
which has been a couple. Let's see, who did Damat play in the finals of Alliance?
Was it?
There's been a lot of Worlds matches, I think. Oh, it might have been Aviator.
Yeah.
And the finals, was it? Oh shoot,
I'm not sure.
Who's runner-up?
I think.
But there's been a lot of
game. Yeah.
Italy versus US Worlds finals. Because even Dorian's game, right, in 2023 was
right.
So
yeah,
Worlds caliber match here.
And okay, I messed that up. That's fine. These are 2 left. So Housekeeping and Team Sforgiati. Probably butchered it, but I tried.
That's why I let you say those things.
And the sets, there you go. GR versus Kota.
Which we had a lot of variety in this.
Yeah.
But now we are down to the 2 most winning like Vault Tour sets, right?
Probably, yeah.
GR and Kota have won the most Vault Tours in general.
Yeah. Right, the trivia.
Sorry if that was one of your trivias.
No, I don't
Very
think it
first
was.
one. Which sets have won?
I don't think it was. So, which deck ran out of cards? I copy pasted them and I saw some answers, but I didn't register them. Which deck ran out of cards in their deck the most times per turn in round 4? Ran out of cards in their deck the most times per turn. Okay, so played their whole hand, I guess.
But it's their deck. Like, was someone playing from like fully haunted? I would say it's probably Mafioso.
Let me see. There was some context.
They probably just got to the end of their deck and was just kept cycling Geistoid. Is my guess of what happened there.
Let's see. The Quixel Master. So 1 in every 5 turns, the deck ran out. Yeah, that must be it. That's.
We don't have Snoopy on here today, unfortunately.
I think
that's
it. So it makes sense that the Quixel Master can do that because it's archiving everything, right? And then your deck runs out. Whereas Joe only like shuffled maybe once, and then you end up with 0.06. Where most of the time you can play his whole hand, I think.
I remember watching those games. I don't know that JDG was able to get through the deck that fast. Like the game just went too fast. But I don't know. I might be wrong. I guess it's once times per turn. So yeah, once every 5 turns. Yeah, I guess with left logic.
I think that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. That can happen.
Interesting.
And which semi-finalist decks pick? Yeah, okay, here we go with the tricky questions. Huh? This is like a test. Pick rate variance has increased every round since the start of the tournament. So if you have low pick rate variance, you choose the same house over and over again. If you have a bigger one, you choose different ones. That's what I believe.
Which one has increased the most?
Increased every round. So more variance every time.
Honestly, I would almost say like Carpe Diem. I think Mafioso changed once. Oh.
No.
Oh, wow.
Oppression. Really? So spreading out more. That's interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess like that's maybe kind of what you said. They were talking about the strategy was for playing against like Harm's deck was you have to play like pick a house and play everything, and so like you're doing a lot more hand cycling. Whereas in the older matchups, he could just sit and disc longer and just keep playing like one control the week after another and just be there for a couple turns.
There's a big difference indeed there. Yeah, that's cool. Nice. Which pod resolve control the week's affect the highest percentage of turns throughout the entire tournament? Oh, that's interesting. Hey, cats and dogs. Welcome. You're at the trivia section.
Gotta go look at these decks again.
Well, they all have.
But do they all have 4?
Yeah, you would go with A indeed.
But that means this has to be a trick question, right? Because otherwise we'd all think
it's not. It's
got
not
to
that
be
kind
A.
of test, right?
So it can't be A.
It is. So wow. So
is that a rental?
Every 3 turns, 1 turn you're being controlled a week. That sucks. That really sucks, actually. Yeah, don't like playing against that. It's a Rentalong's deck with the battle fleets and the logos, fascias, library access, that kind of stuff.
Which is again an interesting one because he was having to do that instead of doing the comboing as much. So wasn't able to quite get as far, unfortunately.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta walk into the rake. You're right. Yeah. Which pod prevented their opponent from playing creatures the highest percentage of turns? So Life Ward on Oppression's this. Corner the market and nobody puts baby in a corner. And the Scholar that can't be touched had what was it?
I think that one also had did that also have a corner of the market?
I think it has a corner of the market, you're right. It has a corner of the market.
I'm trying to look.
Yeah.
I need a better way to organize these.
Yeah, maybe.
That does have a corner of the market.
And it must be Equidon then. And I probably deleted that. So sorry. But
I would still say A here, I think.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because we played all the rounds, even if it was like Like City might have gotten the
Yeah.
lockout set up turn
Extended
like
lock
before
turns, and
key
then
1, right?
it just keeps
Yeah.
going on. So we got the same thing, but then for action. So which pod prevented their opponent from playing actions the highest percentage of turns? So the disc can prevent it, but the Echelon can prevent it, but also there's a Selfie Archivist Starlines.
I'll vote for Dave.
Yeah, you going for Dave? For C?
I'll go C.
C? Yeah, you got it. You got to.
It's probably still A, but yeah.
You're right.
That way, Dave.
Look at that. Like almost every other turn, you cannot play actions. Whew. That's annoying.
That's what it's built to do.
That's really annoying.
Works until you run into, of all things, Brobnar. It doesn't work anymore.
No, it doesn't work. You just play Bramo over and over again, and then yeah. So that's a terrible matchup then, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean it's yeah.
But I think Matza did build to counter Kaup's board-centered things. Because if 2 autocannons are down, you can play your Kaup all you want.
Yeah.
They just die. So, yeah. Which pod negated the most play effects using Bryozork per turn in the entire tournament?
So we had one of these. Oh wow, we don't even have.
So Kaup Diem played against.
Or not Damat's deck.
If Kaup Diem did well against Random Joe, I would say that one. But I think it might be the copycat actually.
I thought we had this question last round too.
Could be, but there's an extra round. Hard, yeah. So copycat is Ellie Max. Infinity Beyond is Donkey Forges. Kaup Diems and Harmed.
I feel like
copycat.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yes, copycat.
I was gonna say, did Donkey Forge hardly play him?
So
I feel like he just got his combo going.
Donkey Forge does a combo on its own, right? So, and then Copycat just played against Random Joe as well, I think, and then won a game there. So a lot of actions negated. So 61% of actions negated. That's rough. Which card was played the most in round 4?
Gosh, it might be a Rogue Operation. Or Boo. Boo was played a lot.
Yeah.
Except does Kaup Diem have Boo?
In here somewhere has been consistently on top, I think.
Yeah. My lighting keeps changing.
Locking your See? Rogue Op?
I'll say A. Oh, never mind.
In here somewhere. Still topping the charts.
All right.
It's such a great card.
Some might say too good.
Yeah, maybe. Which of these cards stunned the most creatures per play / discard throughout the entire tournament? Cats and dogs. Lieutenant Alasta from discarding?
Unprepared would be my guess. That one can do whole boards.
Yeah, but Phantasmal Visit comes back to the archive in Geistoid. And
so I think Phantasmal Visit was played the most.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think there were plenty of times where he played it and there were no creatures on the opponent's side to stun.
Okay. So your answer is?
I'll say C. Fine.
It's kind of crazy that Unprepared doesn't stun more creatures per play than... I think it had the same thing. One. So then there's no board. Okay, there's not a lot of boards in Alliance in general.
Yeah. Well, and the copies of it were also in Damat's deck. And again, he was playing against Quixelstones the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, okay,
sure. He still only had one creature.
Okay. Which of these cards warded the most creatures per play / discard throughout the entire tournament? Per play. B, Medic Ingram. Because then when it reaps, it still counts as being played only once, right? So if it sticks, it can just ward. Same as Mender and Hologramophone, same. So it's not use, it's play once, and then if it sticks around. I would say an artifact is more likely to stick around, but less likely to be used more often.
I'm trying to think. It's probably from Fakey's games, but I think Fakey has both of those, right? Well. Oh, yeah, per play discard. So it can't be Hologramophone if it's play.
No. If you play it once, you can still ward it with an action, and so play it once. So if you play Hologramophone and then you ward 4 times in that game,
oh, gotcha. That seems misleading. I'm gonna say B anyways.
Mender. Harm, you won something
I guess
here.
Mender wards multiple creatures, except does it in
No,
Harm's deck?
it wards itself. But then it's warded. So next turn it can reap and it wards itself again. So then it's 2.
Right, but there's no other, because it can ward other creatures, right? When it comes
can
down,
only ward itself.
but not in Harm's deck.
No, that's the other one. You're not. You're
No,
thinking...
Mender does it. Mender is all specters,
no.
and then the other guy is all guy.
No, Mender's
robots.
not all specters, right? Is it? Yeah.
Right,
it is.
we're looking this up right now.
I think it is. Yeah, I think you're right. But there's the other one, the Soul Tender, that wards all something.
So Mender's is
robots. Thank you.
And then Soul Tender is specters. Which is
so
actually
long.
more Geistoid cards, I think. Mender can ward a lot more non-Geistoid things.
I remember now. I think at one point Harm was like, "Oh, oops, warded all of your robots."
Warded enemy creatures, yeah.
Yeah, whoops. Okay.
I think that happened more than once, actually.
So which semi-finalist pod drew the most cards on average at the end of turns they were picked throughout the entire turn? That's a mouthful. Which semi-finalist pod drew the most cards on average at the end of turns they were picked throughout the entire tournament?
It's basically which pods
how
were
much
playing
efficiency were you doing in
turn.
your hand, I guess, right? Yeah. I think Calpadian's Geistoid, what would that do? It would do Well of Memory, Winds of Death, and then I don't think it's Calpadian's Geistoid.
But you'd have 0 cards left in hand at the end of your turn, right?
I think it's Oppression's... No, because you might be... you might get... But there's also times where you archive all your creatures with Winds of Death, and then you Well of Memory, you select a few of them, you still end up over the limit of 6.
Yeah.
But I think it's C indeed, because Cats and Dogs is like saving up your shadows and dumping your hand and then drawing. That would be my bet as well.
I'm going to still guess A, but I think C is probably a good... Yeah. Okay.
It's not far off, but I think Oppression Shadows makes sense because you're saving up and then dumping your Cats and Dogs. You're right. That were all the trivia, and then there's only 2 facts, and then the stream is already over, less than an hour. Makes sense that it's shorter. We didn't talk enough.
I can talk more if you want, but
I think it's a good time.
I know it's late for you too, so
yeah, Slippy finds the close ones. Both decks that were undefeated going into the semifinals lost 2-0. How about that?
Adds to the surprise, but also makes sense based on the predictions.
It does not make any sense based on the predictions. According to the prediction, so the predictions line up with them being undefeated. The predictions make sense. But the outcome of the games, according to these stats, do not.
So I was trying to say it just came out backwards.
So you're saying the stats are useless?
No, just
Snoopy's not here. Oh. No. I love the statistics. They're great, but
they can't tell you everything.
They can't tell you everything. You're right. Both decks that were undefeated going to the semifinals lost 2-0. Wow.
Yeah, the 2-0 was really surprising. I feel like.
Yeah. And then the last fact, which we briefly touched upon, and then I stopped you. Right. That was my Ctrl-Z moment. There we go.
Ooh.
Can we see that right? Yeah. So there were 3 decks in the original 32 that had at least 1 Brio and 1 Kaup. So 3. Okay, there's more. 3 decks with Brio, Kaup, 3 Lees, 2 Boos of Borealgeist in there somewhere, and Winds of Death. And at least 1 of either Island of Misfit Toys or Well of Memory. 1 is in the finals, and the other 2 were eliminated by Random Joe. So what is going to happen? If you need to win the prediction games, these are the statistics you're looking for. But. So he's done it 2 times already. Can he do it a 3rd time? A 3rd time?
Yeah.
Can he?
Again, I'd say, looking at that composition, looking at that consistency of those kind of decks, like he has had probably one of the hardest roads to get here.
Yes. He had
that
to
is,
go
I mean,
past.
it's the world's winning build, right?
He had to go past Ali Mac. He had to go past Sydney, right? Had to go past Harmed, and one more. Who am I missing in Random Joe's journey here?
I need to go look.
Let's pull up the bracket real quick. Oh, what am I doing?
The bracket would probably be faster than what I'm looking at.
Probably. I'm almost there. Bracket. There we go. So Random Joe, snack with the DT. Yeah. That was. Where Damat came from the bottom. So Chimera, who also came off a second place in the Volt Tour. Then Pamon Hadoche was running Worlds Collide?
Let me see. That might have been the other.
Then
yeah, and another Infernus one with
Right.
I don't have a Crystal Stone and transport platform.
Yeah, indeed. Then Donkey Forge with the Brio Cow Blockout, and then JDG with a Quicksoul. No easy routes either, but Random Joe has had a intense ride. And yeah, so Random Joe, let's go back to the finalists, the final one more time. Random Joe Damat. Bad Penny beats all of those decks, right?
Pretty sure it does.
You think Bad Penny will win against Random Joe?
No.
I don't think so. You'll win against the Cow Bryos, probably.
One Life Ward, and it's like, oh, my deck doesn't do anything now.
Crap. Yeah. Easy. Yeah, sure. So, we're trying to plan this game as soon as possible. It's looking like end of week next week or coming week.
Yeah.
Then we do a recap, wrap up our plans for the future, some plans in the works, maybe. Hopefully we can share some stuff. I hope we can.
Next format that we might do. We're talking. We got lots of stuff.
The stuff is in the works.
Plan for
the
next season, which I think like the original plan was for these to actually happen maybe before, or at least one of them to happen before Worlds. So we might kind of look to do one maybe around October or something. We'll see.
Yeah. So
a lot of work.
A lot of work. What I realized as well, it's mainly there's always like one main pusher. Riku, the previous one, this one was for me. Is a lot of work. It's satisfying. Don't get me wrong, but the frequency should probably be like 3 main tournaments per year, and wherever we place them, that's still up for debate. And what the last format is, we have ideas on this, but we need to iron them out before we announce them. So I think so far everything has been fun to watch. The challenger matches for me have been fun to watch as well. Seeing them do well this round, some new fresh builds, very interesting. And then we got one more challenger match to go, and one finals, and then it's done.
Yeah. Almost there, and then we have our first Final Refrain Alliance champion.
And we can hand out the biggest prize in a while online, maybe the biggest prize online for an online tournament.
For Keyforge?
Yeah, for Keyforge, yeah. So thank you all for joining. Don't forget your predictions. Mandracore is looking strong. Harmed, Vargas, Easy Galena, you're all still in the mix. Yeah, that's the final words from me. Any from you, Aaron, before we wrap it up and we close off the stream?
Nope. Thanks everyone for watching. Super excited for this last match. Can't wait to see what happens. But it's been an awesome tournament, so can't wait to close it out here.
All right. And then Matsu will be banned forever from the chat for saying that. So I'm kidding. All right. See you around, people, and hope to see you at the finals.
Take care.
Later.